beings of light. Welcome to another Monday. And yeah, as always, how are you guys doing? How are you feeling? What's going on in your world? Personally, for me, I feel super exhausted all the time. And like, time has been really bizarre. You know, minutes feel like hours, hours feel like seconds, days are completely distorted. So it's been a weird time overall. Today we are talking about Earth School, childhood abductions, and what else are we talking about? Oh, yeah, the hybrid project. So it is a huge topic that literally one video just won't do it, but I've been feeling for a while that I wanted to not only share my own story about my own childhood, but then also help whether it be parents or those of you who have been abducted in childhood better understand what actually happened. So it's going to be pretty intense. Definitely this video is going to be an hour long rather than sometimes my 30-minute videos. So lock in because we're going to cover a lot today. Before we get to everything, I do have Intuitive Mug. I know you guys have been asking for it, and I honestly think I just get too excited about the information, so I skip over the Intuitive Mug, but I'm bringing it back. I know you guys like it. So, yeah, so I have a mug today, and for those of you who are maybe brand new to my channel and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I play this game where I hold up a mug and it's got some sort of liquid in it. And I ask you to tune into it. Feel into not just the end result of what's in it, but feel into the color, the texture, the flavor. You know, is it bitter? Is it sweet? Is it chalky? I don't know. And then at the end of the live video, I will show you and tell you all what is in my mug. So today I will hold it up. It's one of my favorite mugs, actually. All right, feel into it. And by the end of the video, I will remember to ask you guys what it is. And if not, when you see me wrapping up, please just type in mug. And that reminds me. Also, I found the cutest ashtray the other day. Look at him, he's so cute. I just couldn't help myself because he's literally smiling. Like he's just beyond happy to have some sage in his head. So, you know, it's kind of hard to find like alien stuff, and this guy just came out of nowhere, happy as can be. So he's my new buddy. I just had to show that off. Cool. A couple of announcements that I have today. I've got 2 announcements for the general public and 2 announcements for my membership. The general announcements is if you have not already bought your May 11th Galactic Federation Summit ticket, we have a 24-hour 10% off that's happening today only. So if you actually just go right into the link, which we're going to comment in the comment section below, and then we're also going to add it to the description of this video. You can click on it and it will automatically update your ticket with 10% off. So check that out. And then the second thing is a lot of you have been asking about apparel or some merchandise. And although I've had some issues with some merchandise companies, I do actually have a brand new partnership, and I actually totally forgot the merch. It's funny because I wear their merch almost every day because it's so freaking comfortable. And of course, I freaking forget it. It's like literally all the way in the other room. So I'm not going to hold it up, but you definitely have seen me wear it. It's got like light worker. The merchandise company is called the Galactic Federation of Light. You literally can't get better than that. And a lot of their stuff is inspired by me and the videos and obviously the connections that I have. So check it out. For every purchase that you purchase with the Galactic Federation of Light, you actually get a free scarf that is a beautiful, it's called the Stripe of Light scarf. So check out their website, check out what they're about. Once again, the links will be in the description and in the live chat. And then I've got 2 announcements for my Cosmic Society membership. Once again, you guys have been asking, we have listened, and we're actually finally applying this. So many of you have thought or wondered, why isn't the Galactic Federation ticket a part of the membership? And I totally hear you out. I totally get it. So moving forward, we're going to give all of the creators, which is the higher membership group, an 1111 store credit every single month. So every month you get $11 to spend however you want on my entire website, whether you want to apply that to a Galactic Federation recording or ticket or maybe a webinar. Have at it. Feel free to go ahead and take that and apply it. So by the end of this week, by Friday, please don't email us and say, where's my coupon code or whatever. By the end of this week, you should have it in your account if you are a creator on the membership platform. So, and the best thing about it is you can apply it to whatever you want on the website. So that's pretty cool. The 1111 store credit does not roll over, which means that you do have to apply it in that month. So just be aware of that. And then last announcement that I have is we do have a free 30-minute session winner. And really cool name. The name is Sladen. Sladen L, congratulations, you are a creator. And by being a part of the creator membership, you get access to a free draw every single month. And you just won yourself a free 30-minute private reading with yours truly, which I believe is the best perk of the creator membership. So there is no putting your name in. It's literally if you are a creator that month, you are already put in for the draw. So just be aware of that. So congratulations, Sladen. Thank you so much for being a creator. And thank you for everyone else to be a member. Even if you're a free member, I do appreciate you. And there's tons of free things that we offer on the membership as well as a seeker. And last but not least, make sure that you like and share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because that helps me out and I really appreciate that from all of you. Let's just dive right into it. So I want to ask all of you a question, which is, who here thinks or believes that you may have been abducted in childhood? Comment below. I have to be honest, up until 23 years old, if you asked me that question, I'd say, no, absolutely not. And then I got a regression and I realized, holy shit, yeah, I was abducted quite frequently in childhood, which I'll get into. So I'm going to go over tons of things. I'm going to go over what are childhood abduction symptoms, why are children getting abducted? I want to briefly talk about implants and abductions, and then I want to talk about the Hybrid Project and Earth School. And then I'm going to give you a recommendation of, oh my God, if you actually did get abducted, what do you do now? What's next? All right. Okay, cool. So let's just go ahead and start off with childhood abduction symptoms. Once again, you may be sitting comfortable in your living room, chilling in your life, and thinking, no way, I never got abducted. But, okay, warning, I might go through these symptoms and you might say, well, check, 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 check. Oh my God, maybe I did. Okay, and once again, I do have recommendations at the end of this video for what you can do if you do feel like maybe you align to some of these symptoms. Okay? All right. Now, these symptoms are based on my own personal experience and honestly just what I've channeled from other clients in the past who have also been abducted in childhood. So as always, you guys, take or leave any of this information. You always have the free will to choose what resonates with you and what does not. Yeah, so this isn't like some sort of official checklist. This is just my own experiences. Okay, So here are a couple of childhood abduction symptoms. If there are one or two or multiple that resonate with you, feel free to comment and let everyone know, your own story. Especially after the live video is done, feel free to comment in the comment section, maybe telling your childhood story, what happened to you, what were the symptoms that you experienced, sort of thing. Because I think it's really, like, I guess revealing is one way, but like validating for a lot of people to know, oh my goodness, I'm not alone, and this is why we're here right now, is for that validation. Okay, so lost or missing time is for sure one of the main abduction symptoms, no matter if it be childhood abduction or adulthood abduction. Once again, lost or missing time. Of course, body markings are another key sign and symptom of abductions. Body markings. Okay. Especially from kids having or making really odd statements like, "Mommy, the spacemen take me," or "Mommy, I don't want to be taken again," or "Mommy, there's strange men in my room," or "There's monsters in my closet," which is quite common for kids to say, but there's some things that we really need to pay attention to when it comes down to what kids are saying, okay? All right. So what else? When kids are scared of the dark or scared of sleeping, once again, I know a lot of kids are scared of the dark and scared of sleeping, and part of that is also like psychic attacks or entity attacks, but when a child is getting abducted and they don't know what's going on, of course there's going to be some sort of fear there around nighttime, right? Even if it's a very pleasant abduction, there's going to be some apprehension there. So something to be aware of. Having nightmares, once again, could be a part of the trauma that's created of being taken in the middle of the night in your room. Once again, even if it's a positive abduction, kids being scared of the dark, scared of sleeping, having nightmares can all be related to that, all right? The other thing that that I used to do all the time as a kid, and then it wasn't until maybe a year ago that I actually got this validated, as a kid, I used to spin in my sleep. I don't know how else to say that. And my parents would always make fun of me. They called me Filler Stiller. I don't know. It was a person who had like this crazy hair, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd wake up like in a different direction, and my hair would be just like this like fro of tangles. Like it was just insane. Mostly because I was spinning. And it wasn't until maybe a year or two ago where I came across this random article talking about abductions and saying how it's quite common to, I guess, spin in your sleep. If you've been abducted, I don't know why they said that was common. I don't know if it's because like you spin on your way up, or you feel dizzy and you spin around, or I don't know why that would be a symptom, but I experienced that. I don't know if other kids have experienced that too, or other people. Kids, especially being really tired during the day, is a really good example of childhood abductions and getting abducted in your sleep. You're super active all night long, and then you get put in your bed, and an hour later you're waking up, right? Of course you're going to be tired. And then nosebleeds are also a really common trait or symptom of abductions. From what I understand, it's actually the radiation off of the ships can cause nosebleeds. So a good example is when I was a kid, me and my brother so we had rooms side by side, and our rooms were at the front of the house. And so I would get abducted at night, and they would mostly come through my window, these like little gray beings. And my brother's room was right beside me, but he didn't get abducted, but he suffered with constant nosebleeds. And I didn't realize till much later on that for whatever reason, like I don't know what it was, like what I was told from them was that my DNA or my genetics are able to handle a higher amount of radiation, which thank God, because there's a lot of that around. And my brother was more sensitive to the radiation. So even though he wasn't getting abducted, he got affected by the radiation because his room was also at the front of the house. So he suffered constantly from nosebleeds. Actually, my brother, when he was about maybe 5 or 6 years old, drew a picture of his sister, and it was him. I swear, think I still have it in Canada, but it was him drawn holding my hand, and he put like little antenna on me, like I'm an alien, right? And it says my sister. And I thought that was like the cutest thing ever, because like I'm like, he must have known something was going on. Anyway, and then the last childhood abduction symptom that I put down here is lost childhood memory. And so before I go into like why kids are abducted, or I guess why people are abducted in general, right? Because it's not just applying to kids. But before I go there, I wanted to explain my story. Some of you maybe have heard this, some of you haven't. It's really interesting because, you know, I just came from an interview today. I get interviewed all the time, and the question is, oh, have you been abducted? And like, tell us about your abduction. And I always go to the abduction at 18, and I literally have never brought up my childhood abductions in any interviews. And there's a reason for that. There's a couple of reasons for that I'm not fully going to get into. I guess the main one is like, I think it'd be like much more difficult for people to handle if I went into the childhood abductions. Like it's almost a little too fringe. Like I don't know how else to say that. That's why I always say that when I got abducted at 18, it was my first conscious abduction, which means that I was fully aware of what was happening when it was happening. But however, it was not my first abduction. So here's what happened. I had, and this is the last symptom of the childhood abductions, is missing memory. So at 24 years old, I was like, you know what? I want to do my own inner healing. I went through like sexual abuse and molestation when I was a kid, through the ages of, what was it? I think it was through the ages of 6 to 11 was like the abuse that went on. And it wasn't like bad abuse, and I'm not going to undermine it, but anyway, it happened. And so at 24, I'm like, I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to really unpack the abuse that happened. So I ended up seeking out actually a friend of mine who's a regressionist. And I said, hey, I really need your help in unpacking some of this sexual abuse that happened. Can you regress me back there? And part of my issue was I did not have any memories from the age of 14 back. Like literally all my childhood memories, they were not there. So I'm like, obviously, you know, the abuse was so traumatic that I literally blocked out all of my childhood memories. And so anyway, so I went into this regression thinking that we're going to get into some heavy sexual stuff, right? Turns out all of a sudden, like she puts me under into a trance-like state, which I was used to at that time. And I'm like in my bedroom at 4 years old. I see like my white bed frame and my like ballerina bears that are dancing on the, like I had this like wallpaper thing trim. And all of a sudden there's this huge brilliant flash of white light. And there's these two gray beings standing beside my bed. And so, you know, we went to a completely different place, but my intention was I want to understand why I can't remember these memories in childhood. Once again, I thought it was the abuse. Turns out, because every time I would get abducted, a gray being would put they would wave their four-fingered hand in front of my face and say, you're going to forget this night, but you're going to remember when you're ready to remember. And they would wave their hand in front of my face, and I would completely forget. And I think because the abduction happened quite well, not super frequently, I would say I was abducted maybe around 6 times between the age of 4 and 13. But I think the memory blanking thing that they did actually messed with my childhood memory quite a bit. So I think that was part of it. After the regression, I started to actually relay and gain back a lot of my childhood memory. So I'm super grateful for that. So here's what happened. Here's my childhood abduction experience. In the regression, I didn't go through every single experience. I went through about 3 of them. But the first one that I ever, like, that I re-experienced at 24 or remembered at 24 was when I was 4 years old. I was taken from my bedroom. I even remember the telepathic conversation that I had with the two short gray beings. I remember that when I was in my bed, so my bed was quite high up, and it took me quite a while to get down off my bed. The gray beings were there, and I remember when I got down off of my bed, they said, please come with us. And I was super scared and apprehensive. And they gave me some, like, I don't know, reassurance or white light or just unconditional love frequency. And I felt a little bit better about that. And I remember grabbing their hand. Now it's really funny because I guess I was so little that that I looked up to them, right? I mean, they were only like maybe 4 feet tall, like they were quite short. And I just remember that they were, much bigger than I was. And so I grabbed their hand, and next thing I knew, I don't know how I got from the room to the ship, but I was taken up on the ship. And we walked into this really big kind of auditorium, classroom type of room. There was all of these desks, kind of looking like a university type of room, right? A college type room. And then at the front of this room was this tall, probably 6 feet tall gray being. And there was kind of like a chalkboard or a whiteboard or some sort of technology type of board. He wasn't holding anything. He would just draw things with his finger on this board. So it was a classroom, right? And in the seats of all of these, rows of desks were these kids. And all of the kids looked just like me, just totally bewildered in their pajamas, taken in the middle of the night, just fixated at the front of the room to this tall gray being. And so after the two gray beings took me up to the ship, there was another being who was probably like maybe 5'9", 5'10" feet tall, and maybe shorter than that even, maybe 5'6". Yeah, not that tall. And anyway, and so I believe I called him Henry. Yeah, and I had this imaginary friend named Henry, and every time I would make friends with a butterfly or a ladybug or a worm or whatever, I was obsessed with animals. I would always call the butterfly or the worm or the bug Henry. This is like Henry, and my parents were like, "Who the hell is Henry? And what a weird name for an imaginary friend is Henry. Oh, Henry's around." Anyway, and so Henry basically told me that he was going to be my teacher, and he took care of me, and he was the one who was always there for each abduction, but it was always the short grays that would come get me. It was never Henry. Henry never came into my room. It was always the shorter grays. And so the first experience that I had at 4 years old, there's the big classroom, but Henry ended up taking me into a much smaller room. And I just remember it was so interesting. The room was it was a much smaller room than the big classroom, and it was all white. Like, it was bizarre, like white floor, white walls, and once they brought me into the room, the door closed, and it looked like there was no doors, no windows. Like, it was like this all white room. It was just so bizarre. I'm like, where did the door go? Like, it was really odd, but I didn't feel anxious about it. And it was cool because, once again, I'm 24 years old revisiting this 4-year-old experience. And so in this smaller white room is this small group of children. And they were all around my age, I would say 4 or 5 years old. So they were much smaller or much younger than the bigger classroom kids. Like, they seemed, maybe 6 to 13, something like that. And so in this smaller room was this circle of kids. They were all cross-legged on the floor, like daycare. I don't know. And I want to say there was about four or five of them all in a circle, and then there was one spot open for me. And I just kind of knew that I was walking into this room. I was going to sit in this one empty spot. So I kind of knew what to do. And in the center of the circle of kids, there was all of these shapes. There was cubes, there was pyramids, they were all three-dimensional, and then there was, yeah, cubes, pyramids, and then there was spheres, and they were all made out of like a dark gray material. And I remember looking at them and even picking them up, and they were much lighter than I expected. I don't know, maybe I was used to playing with blocks or something, I'm not sure, but it was a material that I couldn't recognize. It wasn't necessarily plastic, it wasn't necessarily metal, I didn't know what it was. And so the kids were all doing different things with these shapes. Two of the kids across from each other were rolling one of the bigger spheres back and forth, having fun. One of the kids to my left was taking all of the cubes and stacking them. So I'm like, okay, cool, it's playtime. But for whatever reason, I don't know, I felt the urge to take one of the biggest cubes, and I took it in front of me, and I put my like hands on either end of the cube, and I concentrated really hard, and I wanted to split the cube. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to split it in half. And so I'm concentrating, and it's so interesting that in the middle of this cube, it's hard to explain. It's almost like the atoms started to shift away from each other, and the cube started to split. And I didn't know what was going to happen if I split the cube. But before I got to the point where the cube was completely in half, I didn't know if it was solid or if it was hollow or like what was going to go on in the middle. But right before it split, the Henry came back into the room and said, Elizabeth, we're going to, like, let's go. And so I'm like, okay. And so I left the cube. It went back together. And he took me out, and he took me into this other room. So back into the big main room, and then down this hallway, and then to a left was another room, which was much bigger than the small room I just went into. And it was a classroom type, but it was completely empty. And then he put me into a desk, and he said, this is where I'm going to teach you. And now looking back, I understand that the room with the shapes was kind of a test. I don't know what they were testing, but I think I passed the test, and that's where he's like, okay, we're going to teach you separately. And from then on, I never was taught with the rest of the kids. I was taught in a separate room, and every time I was abducted, I was taught something different. So here's what I understand about this experience. I call it Earth School, and I call it Earth School because they taught us about very earthly things. They taught us about consciousness, they taught us about plants and animals, they taught us about energy, they even taught us about quantum physics, tons of stuff. And much later on, I'm trying to think, yeah, it must have been after 24, a couple of years after the regression, I ended up, I think I was like holding some sort of, maybe it was a retreat, maybe it was it was at a conference or something, but I was in somewhere that was a space for these kind of people, and this girl came up to me about my age, and she's like, oh my God, I recognize you. And I said, oh really, like where have you seen me before? And she said, it was up on a ship, and you were a little girl, you were a kid. And I'm like, oh my God, were you up there too? And so what a cool kind of piece of validation of reconnecting with, these kids, right, that were there together with me. So that was really, really interesting. And there's so many other stories about those abductions and experiences that I would love to relay, but I don't want to take up all the time. I just wanted to say that that's what I went through as a kid, which is so fascinating. So why? Like, why do people in general, not just kids, but people in general, get abducted? So the number one reason that I've observed is experimentation. So whether that be like a full body check or some sort of scan, or just some sort of like biological experiment, but experimentation is pretty much the number one reason. Now, of course, we have to understand that there is really positive, beautiful abductions, and there's really terrible, negative abductions. And I am definitely not the type of person to say, all abductions are beautiful and blissful and incredible. And I'm definitely not the one to say, all abductions are horrible and they shouldn't be doing this. I've seen both sides, and I understand both dynamics. So both exist. Both good and bad abductions exist. Now, I do find that with the experiments, certain people are taken based on their bloodline or their biology. That's just what I've channeled, is that certain people in a bloodline are taken for experimentation for a certain reason based on the experiment, I guess. I don't have much more else to say about that. And then the other reason why people get abducted is the hybrid project. I think a lot of you have heard of like hybrid moms having children or being pregnant, and then all of a sudden they're not pregnant anymore. So that's another big reason for the abductions. And then obviously the third reason that I've observed for abductions is the Earth School. You know what I mean? It's like I experienced that, so that's part of the abductions as well. Okay. All right, so I do want to talk about implants a little bit, because when we think about abductions, we think implants. And from like I've channeled, like I can scan people's bodies and energy bodies to see implants. So typically, like someone who's been abducted quite frequently does have a myriad of implants in their body. We need to realize that same thing with abductions. There are really good implants and there are really not so good implants. There are good and bad ones. And likewise, there are physical implants, like actual chips, and there are metaphysical or non-physical implants, which I can see in the aura body. Both pretty much do the same thing on the good spectrum and on the bad spectrum. So on the bad spectrum, implants are there to basically track a person and to sometimes lower your vibration or like mess up your harmonic frequencies. You know, there's basically to disharmonize you are the bad implants. And then the good implants, from what I've channeled, are there to actually upgrade you or unlock some DNA within you. And sometimes the good implants are there to track you as well, just in case there's something that you need later down the line or what have you. What's really cool about the positive implants, like what I've channeled from clients and from my own implants, is that they're really, really smart. They're really intelligent. Like it feels like these implants, even the physical ones, are conscious, which is kind of freaky to think, but every single cell in our body is conscious, right? Like we're a myriad of consciousness all together acting as this one being on this planet. And so so the some of the positive implants that I've channeled, how do I say it? It's like a triggered implant. So at a certain age or a certain vibration, the implant will be activated. So in childhood, you may receive 3 different implants for 3 very different reasons, but the implants will not be activated until much later in life. Yeah, so I got one implant activated in the back of my neck at the age of 22, and that was my telepathy implant. And all of a sudden, everything was much more clear, and it was easier to telepathize, I guess. And then I got a tattoo on the back of my neck to embody my intention for telepathy and being able to receive information. And the tattoo is prana, which is wisdom. Or like, you know, asking the right questions to gain access to the right answers. So yeah, very cool. All right, I'm going off. Yeah, so the implants are really cool. If the implant is set to unlock at say 22, sometimes the implant is also set to unlock or release at a certain vibrational level. The image that I always get in my mind for the triggered implants is like if you could imagine a measuring cup and you're pouring water, and think about the water as the vibration and the measuring cup is your body. When you pour water into the measuring cup and it gets to a certain vibration, that will trigger the implant to awaken, very similar to our DNA. Like you can think of like positive implants as kind of like manufactured DNA awakenings. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool that way. So anyway, those are implants. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the hybrid project and Earth School. So I want to talk about the Earth School a little bit. Okay. before I get to talking about the Earth School, once again, you guys, if you do enjoy this video, go ahead and hit the little thumbs up button. And if you feel like there are people that you know in your life who maybe have trauma or feel that they have PTSD or feel connected to the etheric realms or the cosmos and they don't know why, maybe they're a part of the Earth School. Maybe they got taken in childhood. So please share this video to the people who you feel like will resonate with this. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but I'm hoping that you have. All right. So what is the purpose of Earth School? That's kind of like that was my main question at 24. Like what is the purpose of this whole thing? All right. It's a good question. So from my knowledge and understanding, Earth School is meant to prepare the younger generations to be prepared for the shifting energies. It's kind of a twofold. One, we have to be prepared for what's to come, which is the shifting energies and the heightened vibrational frequency. And two, we have to be prepared for interdimensional hybrids, half gray, half human, could be half feline, half human. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hybrids here eventually, but I think the first ones coming are going to be the half gray, half human hybrids, called the Esasani or the Sasani, and they're going to be coming to this planet in our lifetime. So we have to be familiarized with different beings. We have to be okay with what they look like or their presence or the information coming through them or what have you. All right. So I really truly believe that part of the purpose of the Earth School is to really prepare the younger generations. And I still believe to this day, Earth School is happening. And as a matter of fact, it's probably happening at a much higher capacity than it was happening when I was abducted, whatever, I'm so bad at math, 25 years ago? 20, God, I'm getting old. Okay. All right, cool. So that's the purpose, I believe, of Earth School. So here are some symptoms of Earth School. If you went through Earth School, maybe you got abducted just once and you got put into Earth School. Maybe you got abducted multiple times in childhood and got put into Earth School. But here are some symptoms of going through Earth School, which obviously can apply to other things as well, but I just figured I'd put them down. So for you to be naturally understanding of vibration and quantum physics. It's kind of like your whole life you understand consciousness. Like it's not really new to you. Like for whatever reason it was already like intrinsically within you. I don't know how else to say that. But yeah, naturally understanding. Second symptom of Earth School would be open to ET races. You're just like you're like, I know something's out there. I know it's out there. Why? Most likely because you got abducted and you experienced different beings. You connected with different beings. You saw different beings. And then the third symptom is, of course, all of the abduction symptoms. If you were in Earth School, most likely you have the missing time. You have missing memory. You have a variety of, these weird childhood abduction symptoms that you went through as well. So maybe talk to your family. Hey, did I ever say some weird things in childhood? Or did I ever have reoccurring nightmares? Or was I scared of some monster showing up in my room? Like, it's important to kind of talk to your parents and talk to your family about maybe some weird things that went on that they kind of forgot about, and you forgot about, right? Because they do wipe your memory. Okay, and then last but not least, my recommendation to you, to those of you who feel like you've been abducted maybe, but you're not quite sure, but you feel ready, and this is the important part, you feel ready to, you feel ready to explore it. If you don't feel ready to explore it, then you're going to not be able to get to where you want to go. And that is just literally regression in and of itself. You will not get to the end result if your conscious mind is not ready to get there. All right? So please be aware of that. So my recommendation is go get a regression. if you want to discover what happened to you, go seek out a regressionist that you feel comfortable with that can put you back into childhood to see if you've had any sort of experiences there. And if not, or maybe you're not ready to have those very vivid flashbacks or re-experiences, maybe you want to take a look at maybe a past life where you got abducted or saw something weird in the sky. Maybe it's a cosmic life that you can get regressed to. I do have a regressionist who is a very dear friend of mine. She's the one who actually did my regression when I was 24, and I wanted to get into some like abuse stuff, and we ended up going right into the Earth School. So I trust her. I'm not affiliated in any way, so there's absolutely no reason why I would promote her other than me just really loving her and knowing how great she is. Her name is Trina, and her email is trina@myspaceofpossibility.com. myspaceofpossibility.com. All right, and her email will be in the description below this video, as well as popping up in the chat from Lauren, so thank you for that. And then before we get to the intuitive mug, I am going to also mention once again, if you upgrade and sign up today to be a creator, every single month you will get an 1111 credit on your account to be put towards a free GFL ticket or really whatever you want. So immediately you're getting a kickback for being at a creator level. And of course, I really appreciate you guys being creators. And then be aware, 10% off the Galactic Federation ticket for May. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention, so one thing that I really want to get into, sorry, there's the garbage truck, always, like literally, why at this time on a Monday, every Monday, it's got to be this time. It's so funny. Love it though, I love it. Such a human reminder. I'm like, yep, I'm on planet Earth. There's a garbage truck. So this Galactic Federation, I want to talk about the global reset. I want to talk about food shortages. I want to talk about global solutions. Like, I want to grill the GFL about where are we at right now? Because like, you know, I'm in the Western hemisphere of North America, and we're having a crazy water crisis right now, and it's not any better for the rest of the world. What do we need to know about food shortages? They're shutting down food plants all across America. They're restricting water usage, especially for farms. This is a huge problem, and I want to get to the heart of it, and I want to know, is there going to be a turnaround? So just be aware that we're going to get into more global things for this Galactic Federation 11th, and then of course whatever we need to know at this time, we're also going to get into. All right? Cool. All right. Intuitive mug. What is in my mug? I'll let you guys respond as I enjoy the liquid in my mug. Feel into it. What is the texture, the flavor, the color? You don't have to know the end result. Just maybe, is it, I don't know, smoky? Is it clear? Is it sweet? Is it fruity? Is it bitter? What is it? All right, we got lemon water, orange juice, black coffee, green tea, chai, cappuccino, milk, tea, hot chocolate. Water, orange juice, brown and sweet, coffee, green smoothie, blood orange tea. All right. Okay, OJ, lime water. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. I'm going to go get the can so I can show you guys. Dun 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 dun. Actually, it's really yummy. I'm super glad I just discovered this. It is guava flavored bubbly water. Yeah. So, I don't know, I really enjoy it. That's it. That's a wrap, you guys. That is all that I have for all of you. But I do recommend, you know, I don't know what I don't know what I recommend. I'm always so awkward ending these videos. I just the beginning and the end, I'm like, I don't even know how to exit this right now. It's just like the awkward ending. But I'm gonna leave now. I'm gonna go move on with my day. But as always, I love you guys so, so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me and the awakening and the collective. And it's all really, really good stuff. So keep up the good work. As always, I will see all of you in the fifth dimension frequency. And if not, I'll see you on Instagram or my membership or all the other things that are going on. Bye for now.